Hello and welcome to the Freedom Baptist Church podcast from Freedom Baptist Church in Mineola, Texas, where we're free from the chains of sin and death. Thank you for listening and please enjoy.
We've got a lot of ground to cover today. But I got a word from God just a minute ago. I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet. But God brought this word to light in my heart, and I want to share it with you. In Exodus chapter 17, the children of Israel had strove with Moses at the rock of Meribah. The children of Israel were constantly fighting, backsliding, backbiting against Israel after God had shown so many miracles. And in Exodus chapter 17, at the waters of Meribah, the children of Israel came to Moses and said, "Is God still with us?" They were at the rock. They were in the desert. There was no water. And Moses said, "Why do you chide with me? God brought you here. Is God among us? Is the Lord among us?" That's one of the key questions of the day. Is the Lord among us? Is the Lord in the house? If the Lord is not in the house, if we're not here to worship the Lord, if we're not here to sing praises to Jesus, if we're not here to lift one another up, if we're not here to bear one another's burdens, if we're not here to hear one another's cries, if we're not here to go to bat for the other, let's close the doors and go home. That has absolutely nothing to do with the message. But anyway, our text today will come from Ezekiel 33. And again, this is the prophet Ezekiel speaking, or God speaking to the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel is one of those, what we call major prophets, which I don't think there's any difference between a major and a minor prophet. They're all prophets of God, but in the 33rd chapter, he's talking about watchmen. He's talking about the watchman on the wall. And starting in verse 7, he says, "So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word at my mouth, and shalt warn them. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die, and thou dost not speak to warn the wicked from his way. That wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at your hand." Every one of us has been set as a watchman from God. We all have different titles. We all have different things we need to be watched out for. In the United States alone, according to the latest Pew research, 50 out of every 100 marriages end in divorce. Do you know what the leading cause of divorce is? Oh, it's adultery. Oh, it's alcoholism. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. The number one cause of adultery, according to the Pew Research poll, is money. Money. We fight, we strive, we sell our soul for money. My wife will tell you that for years We live for the almighty dollar. And I was not a watchman on the wall for my kids. God gave those kids to me and my wife. And we let them down. I bear the iniquity as the father of not teaching my young men the ways to go. God saw fit in His infinite wisdom not to bless us with a daughter. Because you've all seen what my little granddaughter's like. By the way, we do have a new baby granddaughter. Blakeland Hollis, I don't ask you anyway. But the point here is, God has set each one of us to be a watchman. We're to watch for different things. Some of us, our job is to be a watchman for our family. I was blessed with the opportunity to go and spend the evening with Miranda and Franny at her son's birthday party. Well, Miranda, I want to embarrass you a little bit. Those kids were playing and having a good time, weren't they? If a snake, it was cold that yesterday, I know, in Texas, I know. If a snake had crawled up to bite one of those snakes, what would you do? You'd kill it. Do you talk to the snake? Do you counsel with the snake? Do you try to get the snake into a 12-step program? No. You kill the snake. Why? Because you guard your family. The gift that God has given you. The gift that were given to you by God so that you can raise them up to be godly parents, godly of their own. That's our job. That's what God gives us kids. So that we can instill Jesus in them, that Jesus might get the glory. Because Jesus will have the preeminence in all things. Like I say, I failed my kids. Brandon, don't ever do that. Joe, don't ever do that. Don't chase the almighty dollar at the expense of your little ones. Okay, where are you going with this, Don? God has sent you a watchman on the wall. What does a watchman do? I'm glad you asked. And we all went to school. We all heard the stories about Napoleon. Right before the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon was walking around to his camp early in the early morning hours, and it was cold. February 18th. It was cold. And this one guard, this one watchman, had got cold. And he went over there and he wrapped himself in his coat, and he sat down and he shivered and he was freezing to death. And he was didn't know if he could go on, and he finally fell asleep. And he woke up, all he could see was a pair of trousers. Napoleon standing over him. Napoleon said, "What now? What now?" He had failed Napoleon. Napoleon went on to lose the Battle of Waterloo. We all know that. In Texas history, the father of Texas, Sam Houston, drug the battle out for hundreds of miles until one night, his sentries caught the Mexican sentries sleeping. And they went in and they conquered Santa Ana. And we all know the story. That's why we have our beauty in Texas. Watchman. A watchman. The watchmen were sleeping. Today, in our homes, the watchmen are sleeping. I debated on whether or not to tell this. My wife knows the story. I've got a dear friend who's a mega pastor in Fort Worth. About 7 years ago, he started watching porn. And it led to a porn addiction. And it led to him doing ungodly things to his body. It led to him destroying his family. It led to him resigning his church in disgrace. It led to him marrying a woman in the church. And just a few days ago, he died. What happened? He wasn't watching. That's why Paul tells us to guard ourselves, to guard our heart, to guard our eyes. If there's anything pure, if there's anything holy, if there's anything lovely, let us think on these things. There is a quite popular meme, or whatever you want to call it, about a woman who, this man is on his deathbed, he's dying. He codes. He's dead. And his wife reaches over and gets his phone. And starts going through his phone. Through his call history, through his search history, through what he watches. He woke up, reached over, grabbed the phone. What am I saying? This thing right here. If you took your search history and watched it, you see that's where it got him. There is a well-popular app out there called TikTok. I used to love to watch TikTok. I'd sit there. I was number one at the time I could have been spending with God. Number two, I called myself watching Jesus TikTok. And there is a section of it called Jesus TikTok. And conspiracy TikTok. But to wade through all that, you've got to go through 500 scantily clad young ladies. Some of them not even of legal age. And God convicted me sitting right here. A watchman on the wall. I can't preach holiness if I'm letting sin come into my life. And it was sin through this right here. This phone. That's how it started with him. It's the little thing. I'll tell you all the time. The Song of Solomon said, it's the little foxes that destroy the vineyards. Adultery doesn't start off with the act. Adultery starts off with the eye. Well, adultery starts off in the heart. If you're not consumed with Jesus, you're asleep at the wall. If you're not, every waking thought is not about the kingdom of God, about how to glorify Jesus, about how to walk with Jesus, about how to walk in the Spirit, how to live for God, how to tell someone about Jesus Christ, then you're asleep at the wall. Are you going to pay for it? Yes, son. But Miranda, you got the little ones to think about. Joe, you got those little ones to think about. If you take your eyes off the enemy for that long, do you think he don't know how to get in? Do you think the enemy does not know how to come in? He's been at it for 6,000 years. Second Peter says, be ye holy. Oh, Brother Don, that was written to the Hebrews at the church. Oh, really? What did Paul say about living a holy and virtuous life? He said, how that are we that are dead in sin live any longer therein? Again, he tells us, if there's anything pure, if there's anything holy, if there's anything lovely, think on these things. But we take our mind off of it. We don't want to think of it. You pick up that phone. You turn that TV on. You come in. It's just going to take a couple of hours. A couple of hours. And your kids run up to you. You're tired. You've been working all day. You're tired. You're beat down. Marley and Macy. You're beat down. You've been working all day long. And your kids come up. They just want to interact with you. They just want to love on you. They just want to see you. They just want to talk to you. They just want to have your attention for 5 minutes. Go on. Son, leave Daddy alone. Daddy had a hard day. Always take time. Be that watchman on the wall. Because I'll guarantee you this day, Satan will make time for it. Satan will make time for it. You've got no further to look around. Just look around us at the atmosphere that we live in. You know, back in my day, in most of y'all's day, it was feasible to have a one-income household. But that's not feasible anymore. The parents have got to work. The grandparents have become to work. To do what my mom and daddy did on one income back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and back then. So you've got, no matter how tired you are, you've got to make time for your kids, for your grandkids. You've got to listen to their pain. You've got to listen to their aches. You've got to listen to what's going on with them. You've got to be sensitive to their needs. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all. This message really ain't about your family. It's about our family. It's about our family. It's about our church family. The watchman on the wall. If you go to sleep, Satan will come in. Satan will come in. 3 times. 3 illustrations I want to bring you to. The first is, of course, Ezekiel 33. The second one is in Matthew 25. Just keep it in your minds. Mark it. We're not going to go there. But Jesus was given a parable. We had already given the parable about the wheat. But then he said, while men slept. What do you do when you sleep? You recline and you get comfortable. You get easy. You get comfortable. Amusement. We sat down in front of the TV to watch Big Bang Theory. I don't know if it's still on. For 5 minutes, just to get a laugh, just to compress, decompress, and we neglect God. What am I trying to say? You've got to keep the priorities right. The third illustration, and probably the most poignant, Jesus took Peter, James, and John up on the Mount of Transfiguration. And he told them, get you some rest. Oh, is that not what he said? What did he say? Watch and pray. Watch and pray. But when Jesus came back, he found them asleep. Why do we watch and pray? Now, Jesus knew he had to go. He knew what was going on. But this is an object lesson to all of us. We're to watch and pray. Because if they had been watching, they would have known Roman centurion guard was coming. They would have alerted, they could have alerted Jesus. Now the outcome would have been the same. That's not what I'm saying. But Jesus told them, sleep on. You need your rest. Many of us go through our life asleep. We don't care for the things that matter. We don't take into consideration our families. They're just an afterthought. Our husbands, our wives, our children, our grandchildren, they're our legacy. They're our legacy. We need to be watchful, number one, in our home. We need to set up guards over our home. We need to set up guards in our own mind. We need to set up watchmen in our own mind that every time we drift off looking at that thing that we shouldn't be looking anyway, something will click. That watchman will set up and bring your attention back to God. You see, we are designed by God for God. We are designed for God's glory. We are designed to bring Him glory. We are designed to, for lack of a better term, bless Jesus. Our job on earth is to glorify Him, that He may have the preeminence. Say, I failed miserably bringing up my kids, and I'm paying for it now. I don't want you to make the same mistake. The second application is the city that we live in. Is this church, have we gone to sleep at the wheel? Do we weep and mourn at the altar? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I want you to think yourself. I want you to just think back. When was the last time that you told someone about Jesus? I'm not talking about inviting to church. This church is a building. If it had burnt to the ground last night, Jesus wouldn't be upset today. The church, the ecclesia, the called out body of God. When was the last time you told someone about God? When was the last time you shared your testimony? When was the last time you got on your knees and fell on your knees and prayed for your children and your grandchildren, and now coming up on our great-grandchildren? How many sleepless nights have you lost? Begging God, God, just give me one more chance. Father, just give me one more person that I can tell about Jesus. It's the same way with your family. This is a family. Whether you like it or not, we're all family. You can hate me. You can want to run me out of town on a rail. It doesn't matter. Because I got a whole lot of my family I don't get along with. But that's not the point. We are the family to this community. We have been put here in this building, at this spot, for this day, for this hour, for this time. For one reason only. And that's to manifest the presence and the glory of Jesus Christ. And if you're here for any other reason, you're here for the wrong reason. It's not about Don Smith. It's not about Brother Edie when he comes. It's not about us. It's about the Lord God Almighty and His blessed Son, Jesus Christ. Get that through your head. When I'm dead and gone, when we're all dead and gone, our offspring, our legacy. Again, I'm talking about the church. The people that we birth into Christ. You remember when he told Nicodemus, you must be born again. It is our job to testify, to witness, to go out and bring them in. Bring them in. What did Jesus tell about the wedding feast? About the great man? He sent his servants out for the feast that was prepared. And nobody came. He said, go. Look in the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house be full. You know what the word compel means in the Greek? It means to beg. Beg them to come in. You know why? Not so they can get rich. Not so they can drive a new car. Not so they can wear a new watch. Not so they can wear new clothes. Not so they can... For one reason. And that's to save them from the wrath of God. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but the signs are everywhere. The signs are everywhere. I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but I can look and see that the Bible is literally fulfilling itself. So we have a charge in our homes. Raise up those little ones. Get those little ones saved. Tell them about Jesus. Get them a foundation. Get them set on the rock so that they can go out and tell. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. Brother Don, I'm just too shy. I'm just too bashful. I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to lead someone to the Lord. Okay? There's such a thing as passive evangelism. You can lead a tract, can't you? You can go to a restaurant and hand out a tract, can't you? You can hand a cashier a tract, can't you? You can, if you're that scared, you can leave one in the bathroom. Bring them in. Compel them to come in, that my house may be full. That's how you build a church. Go ye therefore. Go pastor therefore. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say it. Go ye. I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but children learn from example. You want soul-winning children, you got to be a soul winner yourself. And as I always say, you want a blessing, be a blessing. If you're down, I don't care what kind of funk you're in. I don't care what kind of hell you're going through. I don't care what's going on in your mind. I don't care what's happening. If you want to get out of your funk, if you want to get out of yourself, if you want to get the joy of the Lord going on in your life, tell somebody about Jesus. Not to toot our horn down in New Jersey. I'm really not. I'm really not. But we have a heck of a time, don't we, Miss Jenny, Brother Steve? We've got people from all over the country come in just to pray with us. Nothing, not us. But they know. When they come in that shop, they're going to hear about Jesus. I can say, nothing, not tooting our own horn. But that's God, why God brought us here. A little over 4 years ago, me and my wife asked God to give us a rescue mission 3 feet from the gates of hell, and He brought us here. And it's been a fun time ever since. But I'm telling you, you mark it down, you check it off. foot to butt and get out there and do it. Oh, Billy Graham. Well, you know that Billy Graham never, of all of his preaching, of all of his crusades, you know that Billy Graham had an away team that went and knocked on every door in the town for 6 months before Billy Graham ever got there? They weren't coming. They were coming to make a profession of faith. They had already accepted the Lord before they got there. He just took the glory. And I'm not throwing any shade on Billy Graham. But let's call it what it is. Door to door, house to house, store to store, personal evangelism. We got a city, I don't know whether you know it, but probably one of the drug capitals of East Texas. Whose fault is that? Oh, it's not mine. I ain't ever doing no, but have you told anybody? Have you prayed for anybody? Have you got down and prayed? Have you got down at this altar and prayed for this church? I'm not talking about this body. I'm talking about this body of people. If you got down, if you lost sleep, praying for the people of his church, driving around the church, driving around to the people of the church and praying over their houses. How bad do you want revival? How bad do you want revival? Revival only comes one way, and that's putting foot to butt. You can get whoever you want to up there. He can stop, he can sing, he can dance, we can have smoke machines, we can have light machines. And at the end of the day, Mineola, Texas will die and go to hell, and the blood will be on our hands. The blood will be on our hands. According to Ezekiel 33, I have set thee a watchman on the wall, and if you don't warn them, their blood I will require in your hands. Bloody hands. I've got bloody hands. I don't want no more. I don't want no more. This is one of those messages that I normally get asked not to come back again. But you need to know that thus saith the Lord God. Not done. Lord God. Miss Peggy, if you'll come. Brother Steve, if you'll come. I wonder, are you that watchman on the wall? Are you that watchman over your family? Are you the one crying and begging and losing sleep over your family? Are you the one crying and begging and losing sleep over Mineola, Texas? Over the drug addict? Over the prostitute? Over the homeless? Go out and compel them to come in that my house may be full. Oh, but that's the pastor's job. That's the preacher's job. Really? Jesus told Peter, if you love me, feed my sheep. Jesus told Peter, if you love me, go save souls. No. 3 times he told Peter, feed my sheep. But he told the rest, go ye, therefore, into Mineola, Texas, into Austin, Texas, into Dallas, Texas, into Washington, D.C., and tell them. Compel them to come in. Beg them to come in, that my house may be full. We're losing the battle, folks. You've got no further to look at it, to look than the news every evening. the horrible things going on, the things that God said he detests going on. And we're not standing up. We're not fighting. We're not taking it to the devil. Because Jesus said, I will build my house, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. That's an offensive struggle, Brother Will. We're to be taking it to the devil. Two years ago, 6,000 Baptists met in Helsinki, Finland, for a worldwide revival. 2 weeks. Nobody knew they were in town. They'll take the Pentecostals in. Pentecostals got 160,000 churches worldwide. The world has never been closer to hell than it is today. Why? Because of watered down preaching and people not taking the word of God seriously. I want to know. I want to know right now. I'm not asking you to tell me, but you look in your heart of hearts right now and you tell God, I don't want to be that watchman on the wall. I need to go sleep. I know you're tired. I know you're beat up. Ask God to send you someone that you can witness to. Ask God if there's someone to send your way. You have to start a bus ministry. Every one of us has to come in the car. It ain't got to be a 47-passenger bus. And find somebody to come with you. That's how a bus ministry starts. One at a time, Brother Steve.